Hello and welcome to the Not a Guru podcast. I'm one of your podcast hosts, Tyler Smith, certified athletic trainer, certified strength and conditioning specialist. I'm also here alongside the prestigious Dr. Heidi Cook. We are here to help you with personal development, personal growth, and really building a foundation that lasts you your whole life. We're so excited you're here today, and let's jump in.
Howdy ho.
Good evening. How are we?
We are surviving.
We're keeping our head above water? Question mark.
Yes.
Good.
Yes. Feeling pretty good. This month is wrapping up a very heavy travel month for the bearded man. So I am excited for this month to be over.
When was the last time he didn't have a beard and we just called him the non-bearded man?
2000 and maybe 2016.
2016.
Late 2016, early 2017.
Has it always been a full beard or did he go through different styles as we went through our
He's gone
finding
through
our
phases.
homeostasis here?
Yeah, he's gone through phases. He's had kind of long but kept. Then he had rocked a really short beard for a while. Right around the time we got married, he had a short beard. He kept it pretty short for a while. Then right around the time we moved to Denver was the longest beard he had. It was super long. He rocked that for quite a while, and now he kind of has this like medium length beard that he's had for a handful of years.
Can I say he's one of the few individuals I think would look just manly with a Tom Selleck mustache and that's it? Just a mustache and that is all. He could pull that
He
off.
rocked a mustache for quite a while.
He could do that. I can't pull off the Tom Selleck only, but Sam could. Sam definitely could pull that off.
Yeah, in college he rocked just a mustache. And funny enough, right now his brother is rocking just a mustache. So
Nice.
the facial hair in the Cook family is just top tier.
I mean, but the caveat to that though is he's in college. You guys are dating, so he's got, almost whatever he wants because he's just, he's not single. He can do what he wants. And so
Yeah.
regardless of the facial status, he's okay.
Yeah, that boy went through quite a few phases of facial hair. He had in high school, he rocked a chin strap for a while.
Who I did that for a while, the chin strap. I did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think
Not
he
in high
ever
school. I
did
didn't have enough
just a
facial
mustache
hair.
in high school.
I didn't have enough facial hair for high school to pull that off, but
Oh, I think he tried. He didn't really get like a good thick mustache until college, though.
yeah.
And then yeah, college, he rocked like I think there's like a couple of pictures of him with like a straight up like handlebar situation. But that was kind of just like a joke. He didn't like actually wear that for very long. Um, and then yeah, the beard. And he went clean shaven a few times in between there. But then he has not gone fully clean shaven at all since we have been married.
Oh, I would say I'm the same. I don't even know what I'd do if I went full. Like, I might do it one day just to shock everyone, shave my head, my face, just whole 9 yards.
He goes through phases where he's like, I want to, like, in the summer, he'll be like, I just want to shave my beard off and buzz my head.
I mean, I
Like,
buzz my
you can
head.
do whatever you want.
The hard part for me is when the beard starts to grow out. It's an ordeal to keep it tamed. Like,
Yes.
I mean, I have a straightener, like a heated one, because I grew
Yeah.
it out for a while, but I get really like when I see those little hairs tweaking out, like
Yeah.
from the side, that's when I'm like, I gotta cut this down. And I think
Yeah.
Lindsay prefers when it's short. I don't think she likes it when it starts to
To
go
get
to the long,
burly.
burly lumberjack style.
Do you trim your beard or does Lindsay trim it for you?
Oh, I trim it, but like right now, I just use like a hair trimmer, like just a thicker one, and go through it, and then just trim up the rest.
Yeah.
And the stash up top. But like I've we just got on this most random topic ever. I have a hard time connecting everything, so if it grows a little longer, it looks a little bit nicer, but I don't
Yeah.
have the glorious thick beard like Sam does. I don't have that.
His is starting to go gray too, which
Oh,
is
this guy right here. And she reminds me of it all the time. She's like, "You're really gray in here." I'm like, "Thank you, honey.
thank
Thank you."
you. Thank you. I needed to be reminded. Oh, that's so funny. Well, how are you doing this week?
Good week, busy week. Kind of like a one of those weeks where I was talking to Heidi a little bit earlier. It's one of those weeks where you have to be flexible because, like I've said, we got a lot of illness, we're getting some injury, and then I'm supposed to be out of town tomorrow, but our travel party went big, medium, and now very small. So I'm staying with a group of the kids that are still back here, but it's like one of those weeks where what you had planned and what actually happened is different. So it's a lot of flexibility and a lot of adaptation, but um I can't complain when I'm staying home. Like that's like it's always nice to sleep in your own bed.
Yeah.
And my
Pleasant,
travel schedule is going
pleasant
to be
surprise.
it's going to be flip flop from like what Sam's is. Next month I'm going to travel a lot. This month I didn't travel hardly at all. So actually I don't think I traveled at all this month.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah.
What a
Which is
dream.
well, it's funny because when you have students, they're like the pinnacle is to travel with the team and go on a road trip and to a sporting event. And it's like it's not that it's not fun. God, my hands are out of control. I'm knocking everything out of here today. Um, but the older you get, the more you're like, I've done that. I'm good. I don't need to
I'm good.
travel. Like I'll stay at home. Like, is there a spot where I don't have to travel? Because I don't need to do that anymore. So
I remember those days being really excited to go on the road with the team. Uh, and now I'm like, you know, going to stay in a mediocre hotel somewhere in Albuquerque, New Mexico just doesn't
no,
sound.
it's not. Even yes, very true.
But anyways, well, I'm glad you had a good week. Pleasant surprise for the weekend. So sounds good.
Yeah, just hang out. Gonna hang out with the fam for a little while this weekend. So that's always fun and exciting. I can help out a little
Excellent.
bit more than I usually do. So
Not to like bore everybody. I feel like as I get older, I'm just turning more and more into my grandfather. I always say that he loves the weather and like what's going on with the weather and will always keep me updated on the weather. I am so excited. It's supposed to be like 67 degrees here this weekend.
what? That's
Yeah.
crazy.
And it's been so bitterly cold, and we've gotten so much snow over the last couple of weeks. I am so excited.
Which
Like
is
today it was when I went for my walk. I went for a walk at like 4:15. Also, oh my God, somebody followed me on my walk today.
at
Side note.
4:15.
Yeah.
Who's up at 4:15 besides
No,
you?
no, 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 no.
Oh,
In the evening.
in the evening. Okay, got
Uh,
it.
yeah, some dude in a car followed me today. And I had my headphones on and I have them so where like the noise canceling is off so like I can still like hear my surroundings. And I saw the like shadow of the car and I was like, that's weird. And I like looked over my shoulder because it like seemed like it was like way too close to me. And then I looked over my shoulder and it was right there and it was driving super, super slow. And I was like, okay, I didn't really think that much of it because I thought that like maybe they were like looking for a house
Sure.
or,
Yeah.
something like that, or like we're lost or whatever. So I'm still walking. I'm still walking. This guy is in front of me. We're going like the same direction. This guy's in front of me and he's still driving super, super slow. And then he stops and I like catch up to him and he's like leaning out the window and he's saying something. And I like take my headphone off and I'm like, sorry. And he was like, I'm just making sure that you get home okay.
Not your responsibility.
And I was like, we're good. And there was somebody else in the passenger seat too, and I couldn't see if it was a lady or a dude. But like this dude was also like, not to be super judgmental, but he was pretty like raggedy looking and
Yeah.
gave me the creeps, and the car was super
Not a
a
kind
super,
old man that's like, I just want to make sure you're okay.
no, this dude was super creepy. And so I'm like still walking, still walking. We live in like a nice neighborhood. And I'm like starting to look around because there's like literally nobody around. And I was like, oh my God, what is about to happen right now? And then he starts driving, and I'm like trying to call Sam, which is dumb because he's out of town. uh, but I was like, maybe if he just like sees that I'm on the phone with somebody, he'll leave me alone because somebody knows that, where I'm at or whatever. And then he starts to drive the car like towards me on the sidewalk. And he's just like, are you sure you're okay? I'm just gonna make sure that you get home. And he said something that was literally like gibberish before that. And I was like, what the actual F is happening right now? He's still following me, still following me. I think I said, we're good like 4 times. I was like, we're good. Leave me alone. And he goes, are you sure? I want to make sure you get home okay. That bus was going like 90 miles an hour. It's like, what?
Was there a bus even in
No,
the picture?
no. He's like, all right, well. And then he just drove off and I didn't see him again.
My first thought is this is protective older dad person. If there was like a light on in a house, you should have just walked up there and rang the doorbell and just
Yeah,
told them like, this guy's following me. Can you please help me? Can I come in your house? Like, because if
I
someone did
was
that to me, I'd be like, sure, come on in. Like
100%. So what I started doing was there was construction going on just up ahead, and there were like 4 construction dudes. So I was like beelining it to them or to where they could like see me.
yeah.
Um because I thought about going to somebody's front door, and I kept looking, and everybody's front door is up a flight of steps, and I had the stroller.
Oh, yeah.
And
I
I was
mean,
like, I'm not
that
gonna
would be the
leave
chance.
Cal
Yeah.
at the bottom of the steps.
And just have to, yeah.
But anyways, it was so creepy. So that was my afternoon. That's totally unrelated, but
That's crazy.
it was crazy.
He's-
It was crazy.
Did you get the
And
license plate numbers?
yesterday or two, what?
Did you get the license plate numbers?
No, so that's what I was telling Sam. I was like, that is the dumbest thing that I did not do. I was
Yeah.
in just like such a panic and just like scanning all of my
No, I mean,
surroundings for
it makes
something
sense
else,
though.
that I was like, he literally drove away. And as he was at this like little roundabout, I was like, ah, I didn't get the license plate. And I tried to catch it as he was turning the corner and I couldn't see it. But
Yeah.
like we were interacting for probably like a solid like 5 minutes. And I don't like 5 minutes of that felt like 5 years.
Well, I mean, it doesn't read right because if you were, like my first thought is like if you were out by Lucky Peak in Boise and it's cold and
Yeah.
there's like, yeah, there's no houses, you might be like, are you okay? Like, I want to make sure you're fine. But when you're in a neighborhood, that makes zero
Clear,
sense.
clearly just on a walk.
Yeah.
It was so creepy. It was so creepy. It gave me the heebie-jeebies. It's giving me the heebie-jeebies just thinking about it now, honestly. But so anyways, needless to say,
It was not the best part
it
of the
was
week.
unsettling.
Yeah.
Uh, but anyways, stay safe out there, guys.
To safe out there, which is a good segue to our topic today because what he said and what he was doing weren't exactly matching up very well.
They weren't. They were not matching up very well. So that was a tough segue, but I'll take it. I'll take it. What we are talking about today is how our, as Tyler so eloquently put it, how our actions themselves can kind of like be a language, and kind of that like whole, you know, I want to take it a step further than this, but kind of that cliche of like actions speak louder than words, right? But like taking it a step further, like what your actions are actually telling you about like yourself uh and how you're treating yourself, but then also how your actions outwardly are, what they're saying to those around you as well. And uh kind of that age old adage that just like talk is cheap, right? And so how we can utilize our actions as kind of like clues into where our sticking points are, but also maybe like where our priorities is the wrong word, but like, where we're showing what our priorities are.
Yeah, I think the old analogy we were talking before they got here, I want to say it's from Game of Thrones, that whole words are wind analogy where it's like you can say a lot of stuff, but I think one thing that came true to me through some things that kind of brought up this topic is like actions are your truth because they are what you're actually doing in any endeavor, in anything you want to do. And I also like this because I think it has, like you said, multiple layers, but it works on a lot of different levels as far as like your workplace. What are you doing in that place? What are people telling you by their actions? How you're, taking care of yourself, your family. What are you doing? And is it matching up to what you want to be doing or what you're telling yourself you're doing? Because I think a lot of times, and if you reflect on just yourself and some people that we work with, there is this great intent to do something, start something new, or treat yourself in a certain way. And then our actions don't align with that. And not that it's bad, but it's just another language that we should be listening to because it is actually what is happening. So, how can we listen a little bit more attentively, reflect a little bit more on those actions, and then ultimately, like, how do we do it? Like, if you're not doing it, how do we change those actions into something that helps us with whatever endeavor we want to do?
Yeah. I think it's kind of like, so stick with me here, but it's kind of like working backwards in a way. So, you know, Sam and I were talking about the like I'll get frustrated sometimes when, somebody just says like, "Oh, I don't have time. I can't find time. I don't have time. I, can't find time to do XYZ." And like even I'm guilty of that sometimes, right? But like, you know, there's that like instead of for the things that you're continuously saying that I can't find time for, replace I can't find time for it's not a priority and see how that sits. And if it doesn't sit well to say that XYZ is not a priority, then right, something needs to change with our actions because the way our actions are speaking right now, it is reflective of that not being a priority, right? Because if it was, we would find the time to act on that thing. Now, same goes for if you say, XYZ is not a priority right now, then, and that feels okay to say because that's the season of life that we're in, then okay, then that's not a priority right now. There are other things that are taking priority and we can move forward. But like if you get to that point and you say that sentence out loud and it puts, a rock in your stomach because of it, it's like, okay, we need to change how our actions are lining up with, you know, our words because right now our actions are showing us that that is not an active priority in our lives. And if we want that to match what we're saying, then something needs to change.
Yeah, and I think when you were going through this one thing because I want to like kind of put it as an exercise for people to look at, and this is one that I use a lot, but in my workplace setting, but I think it also holds a lot of validity if you're trying to like everything you said is right, but I think sometimes maybe a clearer picture for people to understand is if we take our significant other, our spouse, whoever, someone we love. And on like one column, we say, like, what are all the things that I could say to this person, like, to express my love or my gratitude or whatever, like how I feel about them. And it's like, I love you. It's nice to see you. Like, you go down these things that would be more of like words of affirmation, like you said you were going to walk into. Um, and that's one way of doing it. But on the other side, putting down that same column, that same category of like looking at like, how do I show them? Like, what can I actually do in a task and my actions to portray the same thing? And so instead of just going from column A and saying, well, I say all those things, but, do you, for me, okay, because I don't want to assume, like, am I buying my wife flowers? Am I holding her hand? Am I giving her a kiss when I see her in the morning? Or, when I do these things that are a way of me physically and like action wise showing. And that can be as simple as like, one thing I do is I try to clean like all the things I know she wants to check off her list when she comes home from a hospital, from work. She wants to like clean the couch, do a couple things because it just helps her know that the house is somewhat organized. She can go to bed. I started taking those on as a way to show her how I appreciate it. I want my actions to match up with what my words are saying. But it took me reading that book and understanding, like, hey, those two things have to align. Like, I have to do both. It's not one. And so, like you're saying, I'm saying it's a priority through my words, but I'm not showing it through my actions. Sometimes writing those two things down gives you kind of like an idea of like, oh, you know what? I'd say all these things over here. I don't actually do them. So my language of action is not showing what I think my truth to be. And like you said, maybe it's not a priority. Well, it should always be a priority, but maybe I didn't realize that it's not the same thing. So I thought it was a priority, but by my actions, I'm showing that it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And so it's like, thinking about this in terms of like the different pockets of your life and kind of assessing those actions in terms of like work life, right? In terms of, your personal relationships, whether that's a spouse or significant other, friendships too. And then also turning that inward on yourself and like your own, um, health, personal development, those types of things as well. And kind of looking at these, like auditing almost these different pockets of, here's how I'm showing up, right? Uh, in my actions in this pocket of my life or in this role, right? And because we do have 24 hours in the day, so like right now, right? Like so much of my 24 hours is consumed with being a present mom, right? That like I have to find small times during the day where I can maintain positive actions to maintain those other roles that I uphold as well
Right.
for myself, for my spouse, for my friends, like those different relationships for work. Right. So, like, how are my actions either aligning or not aligning with what I'm saying about, those different areas, right? And allowing that to be like the spotlight on, is this what it is because this is what it is right now, or does this need some improvement? I think we've all, you know, had a boss or somebody who, you know, talks a big game about, oh, I appreciate you, or even the other way around, like as a boss to uh to your team, right? Like, I appreciate you like this, sorry, this goes like both directions, right? Um uh an employee to a supervisor and vice versa, like saying that I appreciate you and all that you do, right? is great, great words of affirmation.
Right.
But if that's it, and you're showing me in your actions over and over and over again how you are taking me for granted or aren't, kind of upholding or fulfilling, your end of the relationship through your actions, uh, then right, that relationship becomes strained, right? Same goes the flip side as an employee to a supervisor, right? You can say that you admire, that you appreciate that supervisor, but if you're not doing your job, right, and you're making their job a whole lot harder because they're then having to micromanage all of those little tasks or aspects or things that you're letting fall through the cracks, then again, like you're not upholding your appreciation through your actions, and talk is cheap. So like I think there's so many different ways that this concept can just allow for better and more direct, more, what's the word I'm looking for, like pointed self-reflection.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say in your example, and I think one thing that I've hopefully been able to do really well, because you're absolutely right. We all have bosses that like, say I appreciate you and then, you didn't get the raise you wanted. Or one thing that is fairly common in my field just because of demand and rolling over is, people saying like, I want you to take care of yourself. I want you to find time to, do those things that help, make you you and be with your family and talk. And then you turn around and, something else pops up. Or it'd be like Heidi's my boss, and she's like, I know you're stressed and I know you've had a lot on your plate and I want you to take care of myself. And you're like, thanks. That really makes me feel good. And then she turns around and shoots me an email and sends me 17 different things that she needs done by next week. And then you automatically are like, oh, I don't really think that she, you know what I mean, is holding true to that instead of, prioritizing and saying, like, hey, I know we've had a lot going on. I know you've got like, I got a list of things to do. If you could help me pick off a couple of them, a week, so we're not overwhelmed. So you're getting to do those things, but we're still chipping away at what we're doing. That'd be great. And then, I mean, those, and what I've learned in watching is what, like what is happening. And then like trying to put the mirror to myself and like, am I doing that? What am I doing that is probably that sort of my words aren't matching my actions? And even like keeping a little book where I'm writing stuff down, where I'm noticing like this is kind of, I don't want to use the term hypocrisy, but I think sometimes even in this, like we use the term a lot, be transparent and be honest. But then a lot of the actions will not match up with transparency and honesty because it's going to make people mad. It's unequal. It's going to cause problems. And it's like everyone takes mental notes of those. But what I try to do is take the mental note. And then when I see the situation and it feels the same, I try to think of like, how can I attack this that will actually uphold the values? So my actions match what I'm doing and people will believe me when I say stuff because they know that on the back end. I mean, and that's with everything, with work, with your spouse, like you have to try to match as much as you can. Are any of us going to do it like 100% knock it out of the park? Absolutely not. But you at least, I think 90% of the battle is if before it even happens, if you can reflect and say, damn it, my actions were not matching what I wanted, then you're at least giving yourself the self-awareness to try to not do it again or to give yourself a better outcome next time versus, you get a lot of people that will loop back around and dismiss the action, but say, but I really, like I really was trying, or, like you let the words kind of wash over the action and then you haven't really taken that step forward.
Yeah, I think it's a tricky one because like I feel like as humans, and maybe I'm just speaking for myself, I'm a bad, like, in the moment reflector. I have to like set aside time to like really think through things. Sometimes it's like as my mind is wandering, like going to bed. Sometimes it's like as I'm driving, or sometimes it's like really sitting down and having like a very structured, like self-reflection period of time. But I'm really bad at doing it in the moment. And I don't think I'm alone in that. I think some people are good at like being like, this didn't go how I wanted it to go. How can I make it go better? Right? Like for me, I'm just like, damn, that sucked. And then like 2 hours later, I'll be thinking it through. And then, so I think like as a human, just giving yourself those like opportunities to think that through. And so, I'm hoping that this conversation can help individuals set aside some time to be like, where do I feel stuck? Where do I feel resistance, right? Whether that's in a particular relationship, personal or like a working relationship, um, a relationship with, um, you know, like a concept or area like health or financial health or whatever it might be, right? Like the age old, like, oh, I'm trying to save money, but then like you go and spend a bunch of money on a bunch of random shit. Like,
Yeah.
so like wherever you're feeling strain, stress, resistance, sit down and give yourself just like 10 minutes of self reflection time of just being like, how am I showing up in this area? How are my words of like saying what I want or what I hope can happen, or all of these different things, how are my actions not aligning with the desired outcome? And then how can I maybe try the hat on of, okay, you know uh I'm trying to save money, but I'm continuing to do all of these other things. What are we trying to save money for? Let's say it's for a vacation or it's for paying off your student loans, right? Then trying on the exercise of paying off my student loans is not a priority right now. If it truly isn't because you've got bigger fish to fry or, other things, and you're just going to continue to make payments, great. Like you've discovered that, and now you can like that can ease some of the stress that you're feeling or guilt or whatever that you're feeling in terms of your spending habits, and we can move forward. But if it makes your stomach sink a little bit to say paying off my student loans isn't a priority right now, and you're like, ooh, that doesn't feel very good to say, then okay, we need to do some adjustments in our actions so that it's more aligned with our desired outcome.
I think one thing you said, and this is, I laugh because in my field, this is not as sought after as I like it, like as I see it in my hindsight. But I think the ability to, when things don't go well, and like you said, to pause, but even to like wait and not analyze it at the current moment can be a superpower, because you're
Right.
like, okay, like, because one thing, and you'll have to forgive my bias, is I don't like reacting when emotions are high, because I don't think we think with a clear head. I
Right.
mean, any you can turn on any sporting event and probably see a player or a manager that things don't go well in the moment. They wanted to do something, something didn't happen, and they look like a toddler on a, like your pal when you leave the room and he's upset and he's crying and throwing stuff. Which, and that's a whole different subject for me. But the ability to pause, and the other thing I was going to say, and I think you're right, and reflect, wonderful. The other thing that's been so beneficial to me, and I just had an instance with it, just this weekend, is bringing in someone that I trust, that I respect, that I know has my best interest. And, whether it's your partner, or you don't probably always want to do that. I just like to say, walk through this with me and let's talk about this. And like
Yeah.
brutal honesty, or like, Heidi and I have done this together. Like, let's walk through this and see, like, where was your thought process? Where was my thought process? And how did our actions not end up at the same spot? And that doesn't mean you're always going to get the answer you want, or you might not always like agree with the outcome or what, like the action the person took. But at least it gives you, like me, a clearer head of, I need to understand more. And that helps my actions like over the course of time, because it brings more perspective. And so that way I'm a little bit more cautious with the whole process to begin with.
Yeah, I like that perspective a lot. I think like, you know, I think it can look like punting, but I think like you said, like getting some separation from it sometimes is like helpful in thinking it through with more logic and less emotion.
Well, and I always look at it as like, I understand because trust me, I've been accused of punting a lot. Um, but two things, I'd rather gather information and make the correct decision than make a quick decision that might lead to like a worse outcome.
Yeah.
But if we're in this for long-term success, how many of those things are like that immediate that we have like, I mean, I can think of, yeah, if you're in a hospital down the street where my wife is working, there's a lot of quick decisions that have to happen and your actions need to happen real quick.
Yeah.
Good, bad, or indifferent, something's got to happen. Most of us are not put in that situation. And most of this that we would be talking with people, even if it's work, is a, like you said, is a 30-minute pause and a reflection of downregulating some emotions, gathering information, going to help us come to a more clear, concise decision that our actions can follow and we would feel confident in them. And I think sometimes that's ultimately what we need is to make sure sometimes we won't take action or because we're not sure the outcome or the outcome is uncertain or it's not immediate or all these different things. And when we reflect, gather more information, and we really think it through, our actions are more solidified because we understand the why, the how, and all those different facets than just going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Preach it. Bless up. Yeah. I think like overall, you can almost think of it like as a I think of it almost as like, the uh you touched on it a little bit earlier, but like, the different love languages, physical touch, uh words of affirmation, acts of service, quality time, gifts.
Gifts. Yeah, I was gonna say one of them's like presents or gifts.
So like I like to think of this as like the kind of like the acts of service type thing. And it's like, I mean, in a way, right? Like, I mean, I guess it could be physical, it could be a lot of these different things, it could be quality time, whatever. Like, I like to think of it as like the acts of service component of this. Like, how are you showing up and doing things that reflect your love or your priority, right? Whether that's in your actual relationship or, work or health or whatever it might be. Like, how are you utilizing that particular love language to communicate where your priorities are?
I think one thing that I wanted to talk about just real quick. So if it's not, how do we read actions when like how would you suggest someone read actions when like we have what's the word I want to use? Like when it's easy to ignore or we're not seeing them, like how would you suggest someone the easy example that I got earlier this week is like how if you're in a bad relationship and this person's actions are not showing that they love you, but you're in it and you love them, how do you take off the blinders to read action for yourself in different situations? We may not have an answer. That's one thing I thought of though, as what we went through this is like, how can I help people clarify actions into,
It's hard if there's not anything that's like making you assess it,
yeah, exactly. That's what I
right?
was thinking.
So I
Yeah.
think it's like twofold, right? So like I said earlier, like feeling where there's any sticking point or resistance, like where are we continually frustrated? Where are we continually stressed? Where are we continually feeling guilty about, X, Y, and Z? Those are places that I would like kind of dive into and assess. But then the other piece is maybe where have I gotten some feedback from others? Um, and like not meet that feedback with like judgment or without judgment or without defensiveness. That's what I'm looking for. And instead just like take it at face value, and then wherever that feedback was pointed at, do this kind of inventory or self-reflection, and see if our actions need to be adjusted at all, in order to address that. And I'm not saying every single piece of feedback that comes your way, you need to hyper analyze. I think it's okay to be like, to get some feedback and it just not aligned because it's not realistic or not something that you can do. But again, like that is in self-reflection of like, this isn't a priority right now. Okay.
Right.
And move forward. Right. So like, but again, allowing that kind of thought process to happen. So like I said, I think it's twofold, like feeling where there's resistance, but then also taking feedback that you've gotten and running it through this exercise to see if there's a place of self-improvement that's needed in order to kind of improve on that feedback.
Well, and I think the one thing I thought of too when you were saying that is what is the pattern or the thing that I'm noticing, like you said, the sticky point where it's not going well or the outcome is not what I want. And like an easy one to be like, if you found multiple times a week you come home from work and you're like, this shit sucks, I don't like this job, but they tell me that I'm doing a great job and they tell me that they really appreciate me, and you write down what that looks like to you, like what would appreciation look like when you were at work, what would you want to see from these people, and then you can start to like look at those more analytically and say like, okay, do these things happen, or do I need to adjust my perspective, or is it just something that this is not what, like matching what I, like you said, it's just not matching what I'm doing. So it doesn't need to be drastic, but at the same time, look at those things and make actionable steps to go after what you want, or to help yourself match what you're saying into a form of action.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
Agree.
100%. Yeah. 100%. I hope that this is helpful. Like I hope it is a helpful way to think about addressing where we're feeling disconnect, where we're feeling resistance, where we're feeling stress, so that you can maybe uncover a clear path to addressing that. Because I think a lot of us will just continue to press forward doing the same thing and continually come up against the same roadblocks over and over, which then just contributes to the feelings of stress and discomfort.
And I mean, I hope we gave you some stuff to work on. I just hope more than anything, this creates a small amount of awareness to maybe in any situation, whether it's work, family, friends, whatever, whether it's through your own actions or what someone did, you can just pause and say, what are these actions trying to show me? Like, what is this person telling me with their actions, their behaviors, and what should I take from that? If you just have that short reflection piece, I think you've gained a lot, and that this episode will start to snowball on you as you move forward.
100%. 100%. So yeah, I'm excited to hear how this impacts you moving forward. And thanks for hanging out with us, and hopefully this gave you a little something to chew on for this week.
Thanks for being here. Have a great week.
See you next time.